Is this going to be the final season? That is the question. Chat has a good shot, but some impending contracts are due. My Wizards are arguably primed to compete with Bosch, Paul, and Ben Wallace. Staunch defense, left and right. Especially fucking Tony Allen if he ends up becoming my starting shooting guard if Crawford gets traded, and Crawford's still good as well. We will see what happens. This does feel like it could be the final year. Let's get into it. Immediate trade offer for Chat. J.R. Smith and Wilson Chandler for a first-round pick this year and power forward Troy Murphy. Can't imagine you'd take that trading J.R. Smith. So we'll just decline that. We move on. We move. Clippers doing very well to start this year. Very well indeed. Another trade. J.R. Smith and Quentin Richardson for Rudy Gay and Bonzi Wells. JR, again, 22.85 and an A- potential at shooting guard. Richardson, 27 and an 83 at forward. Rudy Gay, the 21-year-old forward, 81 overall, B potential. You take the hit at shooting guard to get another decent long-term forward. The answer looks to be no. Fair enough. I probably wouldn't take that either if I was you. So, 2007-2008 NBA season. As you guys do get a trade offer for Wilson Chandler. Problem is, it's a 2012 first for a 2008 protected first and Joseph Forte at shooting guard, who is what he is. Chandler at least has a B-. Really no reason to do that. If you were going to use your first, it's got to be to improve the team. Clippers hovering around 500, continue to be a streaky team. There might very well be an injury. Hello, Al Jefferson. Ooh, an Al Jefferson to the West. A 2008 first-round pick from the Jazz. And veteran forward Matt Harpering for Al Jefferson. Jefferson hasn't been happy here. Oh, good. Chris Paul broke his ankle. Jefferson kind of became surplus when I was able to trade for Ben Wallace and drafted Greg Oden and Marc Gasol. I got to take this. I got to clear out Al Jefferson. Get a first-round pick back and Harpering's decent depth, and it allows me to stack the West against you guys. I'm taking that deal and sending Al Jefferson to the Utah Jazz. Done deal. See you later, Al. So right now, Jamal Crawford is my starting point guard because of injury. That's fair. Now that Al Jefferson's gone, Paul and Conley, Allen and Williams. Man, Lou Williams has really fucking developed. Like, really developed. Immediately, Matt Harpering can go to the block. It is nearly Christmas, everybody. We're going to go literally to Christmas Day, as you requested. There's no way you're not taking this. I know you guys. Lamar Odom and a first for Tyson Chandler. There's no way you're not taking this. I know it. You missed out on Chandler before. That would give you Chandler and Brand as your big men. You do have to give up a first rounder. Any argument against it? You've been debating trading Lamar Odom. You do give up a lottery protected first in 2009. That's a done deal for Chat. Lamar Odom and a first rounder to the Bulls for Tyson Chandler. Meaning, Chat at 12 and 13, by the way. My Wizards at 19 and 10. That does mean that right now, Chat's lineup is Williams, Smith, Granger, Brand, and Chandler. With an injury to Quentin Richardson, you still got Kyle Lowry as the sixth man, but your depth from there is pretty shaky. But a Brand Chandler combination can certainly compete with my Bosch Wallace combination. Fair enough. Was there anybody you wanted to potentially add to your board now that you have Tyson Chandler? You really don't have much that you could add, right? You really don't have much that you could add. Q is injured for 1 to 2 weeks, yeah. Well, can you take Richardson off and add picks? Sure. You don't have a 2009 first already. But the 2010s. Can we add Tyson Chandler? You could. I imagine you guys would want something like this. Let me know if I'm wrong. I knew what you meant, Crash. I knew. You're fine. You're lucky I don't feel like being sassy anymore. Any complaints about this right now? At least to carry you to the deadline to see if the team can turn it around. Let me know. For me, God, maybe trading Crawford isn't the move. Chris Paul's on the untouchables list. Crawford because he can play point guard, but Lou Williams can play point guard too. Yeah, you know what? I want Crawford back. I want Redick back. Bellinelli. Harpering. And I'm going to trust Ben Wallace and Greg Oden to not get hurt. Wallace untouchable. Bosch untouchable. You got to use rhythm shooting. Fun fact, I have not actually played a single second of this game so far. I haven't played a second of it. So I do not have a take on the changes to the shooting this year. Don't know what to tell you. I have not played a second of this game. Let's see what happens. The Wizards currently second in the East. Chat 7th in the West. We'll move towards the deadline. And immediately, the Tyson Chandler edition is paying off. That is 6 straight wins. Make it 7. 8. The Chandler edition paying dividends pretty much immediately. Wizards get a trade offer. Fuck, it's Lou Williams, though. Lou Williams for a first rounder and Joey Graham. I did want to get rid of some of that depth, but Lou Williams was not the guy I wanted to trade. Although it does mean I could keep JJ. How old was Lou again? Just 21. I really don't want to get rid of Lou Williams. I'm going to say no to this. And we're going to put Lou on the block, or on the block on the untouchables list. So we got Paul and Conley. Crawford's on my list. Keep Allen and Williams. Okay. Nearly to the deadline. Nearly there. I don't need another big man. I'm going to say no. I don't want to get rid of Mike Conley. You guys don't need that. JR and Richardson for Boozer. Had you not gotten Tyson Chandler, it might have been worth considering, but that's a lot to give up for your depth. There's no reason to bring in Carlos Boozer. Kyle Lowry for Dant. There's no reason to do that either. Right? I mean, technically it would give you a better backup shooting guard and a first, but Marquise Daniels is 27. Yeah, I know that's going to be a no from you guys as well. A few days away from the deadline here. Chat at 29-14, second in the West. The Wizards 30-15, second in the East. This feels like the year that it's going to end. I already know chat's going to debate using the nuke to go all in. Which you could argue what the best way to go about that is. Just to show you what you could potentially get for your picks. Your first rounder this year on its own, in terms of depth, not looking good so far. Kenny Thomas as a backup power forward. Not too much on its own. The two firsts combined. It is commode, yeah. First to a title, then we move on to the next era. The two firsts combined. It's taking a while to load. Could fetch you Kevin Martin. Kevin Martin's certainly not a bad option to have at guard forward. Tyronn Lue, which, Andre Blatch at power forward. Matt Bonner. Brandon Wright, probably not quite what you guys are looking for. Salem Stoudemire at point guard. Kirk Heinrich at point guard. I'm not trading you Lou Williams. So, I mean, if you use the tactical nuke here to try and improve your team, you have the chance to do it. Like, you're good at point guard with Williams and Lowry. I mean, there's really no reason to look for a starter other than Mo Williams. The guy's an 86 right now. Shooting guard, you don't really have a good backup behind JR. Except for Quentin Richardson. I mean, you have options. You don't really have a good backup power forward. You don't really have a good backup center either. I mean, so the best bet, rather than... my take, rather than trying to improve... I mean, you could look at the star value, or you could look at just trying to shore things up a little bit. But the question that needs to be raised one more time. One more time. Are you using your nuke? In this instance, rather than selling everybody, it's the tactical nuke to try and improve the team for one home run shot. Still counts as your one nuke for the era. Are you using your tactical nuke here? Poll is up. Poll is live. Are you using the tactical nuke to go for the home run shot this season? Again, you are right up there in the Western Conference. I'm right up there in the East. This could be over very soon. This could easily be the final year. And pretty much overwhelmingly, chat's ready to commit. Chat's ready to commit. The baby's finally here. Push, Mrs. Johnson. Chat is going to go all in. It's been decided. So, let's see what combinations can be used. For the record, this random filler point guard on his own can apparently get you a first-round pick from Philly. So there'd be no reason not to do that, to then use that first-round pick to get somebody better, right? Unless you wanted to go for, like, Todd McCullough or Glenn Davis on their own. But yeah, it looks like, I mean, again, if you wanted, like, Sean Bradley for the depth, Calvin Booth, Zimmerman was needed in the Kirk deal. Well, if you're tied to the Kirk deal, then sure. But you never know what that extra first might get you. So I guess that's the question is, what do you try to deal first? Just the picks? Why trade Kyle Lowry, though? Unless you're thinking like you're guaranteed to get Kirk Heinrich. Which I can tell Crash is married to that idea. Lowry and Chandler together. Get you Larry Hughes. Fish, tactical nuke. Chat wants to go all in. Al Jefferson from Utah. Jameer. That might be worth it right there, chat. Jameer Nelson at point guard, and you get Jalen Rose at forward. You're looking at depth and trying to improve at the same time. That's the deal right there. You got to pay Jalen Rose for a little bit longer than you'd probably like to, but that's the exact type of deal you've been talking about. You had Quentin Richardson, Perk, and Dixon. Brendan Wright, CJ Miles, Raymond Felton, and Kenny Thomas. Very similar to the Heinrich trade. Spencer Hawes in a first that you could then use to flip. David Lee and Anderson Varejao. Vasquez and McDice. Not trading you Lou Williams, and then Desmond Mason. Desmond Mason and Emeka Okafor. Jesus. So, at least you know what that would be in terms of a possible trade. I mean, Okafor is going to be a backup for you. He'd probably be your sixth man, because he'll be behind Chandler and Brand. But that would give you a three-headed monster in the paint. You know? I mean, you guys got to decide who's moving and what the play is. That Bobcats trade. I'm also seeing Zimmerman for a first, which could still be done after this. Any disagreement? Crash, you don't need first, but you can flip the first, is their point. That is their point. So, I mean, you can technically... Okay. You know what? We got to make a decision right here, right now. First decision you have to make. Lowry, are you keeping him as the backup, or are you trading him to get an even better backup point guard? That is the first choice. That is your first decision. Are you keeping Kyle Lowry as the backup, or do you want to get an upgrade on Kyle Lowry? That is the first decision. No other discussion points, nothing. You need to decide if you want Kyle Lowry as your backup point guard. That is the first decision. Let's start there. It's a little bit more difficult to tack nuke with chat because there's a lot of moving pieces. Instead of me just doing it on my own and wheeling and dealing. What is the fate of Kyle Lowry? You're using the tactical version of the nuke to decide what to do. Right? Right. As it stands, unless something changes in the next 10 seconds, Kyle Lowry is going to be a part of a trade. Kyle Lowry is going. We will go back because a lot of people like that deal from the Bobcats. It is Lowry, Chandler, and Richardson for Desmond Mason and Emeka Okafor. Both on expiring contracts. Was that the deal that you wanted to take? I know some people shouted out the Al Jefferson one. Why is Richardson being added? The Bobcats want him. That's the only way to get that, is the Bobcats wanted him in the deal as well. But you technically do get an upgrade at forward. You get a really good backup center, and then you still have other pieces you can move to replace Kyle Lowry. The other deal that people were interested in, there was Raymond Felton and Kenny Thomas. There was Jameer Nelson and Jalen Rose, and it adds a second-round pick instead. He wasn't there the first time. Well, he's here now. I don't know what to tell you. It's not like I selected him, because clearly he's not there with all the other trades. So, trade. Yes, no, find different deal involving Lowry. What do you think? Zimmerman, I'm sure you guys will deal afterwards to recoup a first and then flip him later on. Actually, in fairness, I should have phrased this poll differently. Hold on. Let me make a new one. So, deal. Do you take this Bobcats deal with Mason and Emeka Okafor, but you have to give up Quentin Richardson? Do you take the Kings deal involving Jameer Nelson and Jalen Rose? Do you take neither and find a different deal involving Kyle Lowry? That is the question. And apparently something is getting caught by the bot. So again, you can find a different deal involving Kyle Lowry. You can make the deal for Jameer Nelson and Jalen Rose. You can make the deal for Desmond Mason and Emeka Okafor. I don't think Perk and Dixon would get that many options, especially when the Kings aren't getting different options. But you can vote for find different deal. So it's looking like that Bobcats deal is going to win out. Again, your game plan right now is to try and win this year. Fuck the future, win this year. That's what you guys pretty much decided when you wanted to use the tactical nuke. This deal's going through. Kyle Lowry, Wilson Chandler, and Quentin Richardson to the Bobcats for Desmond Mason and Emeka Okafor. Done deal with the Bobcats. From there was the option to move Zimmerman. But I think before it was, 2 first-round picks for Heinrich? God, the Bobcats AI sucks. They have made some amazing selections. They have made some amazing choices. People seem very tied to a deal for Kirk Heinrich to be the new backup point guard. Any disagreements on 2 firsts this year and Jahidi White for Kirk Heinrich and a first? Any disagreements? I've seen people mention Kirk the whole time to get your new backup point guard. Zimmerman for a first will still happen. Okay. That is a done deal. 2 firsts and Jahidi White for Kirk Heinrich and a first-round pick. From there, now you got Williams and Heinrich at shooting guard, or point guard. Zimmerman is going to go for a first. As discussed, I'm just trying to make sure you find one that doesn't involve someone with a crazy fucking cap hit. Pretty much what we're dealing with there. Yeah, I mean, it can literally be from whoever. Any preference on here? It's all looking at 2010 lottery protected. 2011, no limits. No limits, 2011 from New Jersey. I know you probably want a 2010, but you can get a no limit 2011, a no limit 2012, whatever draft you prefer. The Nets you don't have to take on a 40 overall. Yes, you do. What are you talking about? Nets you don't have to take. Warriors you might not have to take on a 40. All right. Warriors deal it is. Derek Zimmerman in the second for a first-round pick from the Warriors. Illegal trade, add exception, done deal. All right, let's see what else you guys can do. Shooting guard, is there anything for Yakuba Diawara? Could also flip him for a future first and then use those first to try to get better. You could flip him for Big Baby. Could get Sean Bradley as a backup center, which you don't really need because you have Emeka Okafor. Any disagreement about flipping this guy for a rando first? I can't imagine. Could get Sergio Rodriguez a point guard, but now you don't really need him. You are going to have to take on a random 40 unless you trade for Big Baby. So, Big Baby, Sean Bradley, or you get a first-round pick but have to take on a random 40 overall player. What do you think? What was 12? Gordon Garasek? Let me see the full roster one more time. Oh, crashy. Here, let's combine the two. Forward, you now got Mason and Granger. Power forwards, Brand and Beasley. And then centers, Chandler and Okafor. So pretty much the game plan is a backup shooting guard and a backup power forward, and then you guys are good. Shits and giggles, what do these two shooting guards come out to? First and Joel Anthony, Michael Bradley. But there could be the backup power forward if you think he's good enough. Yeah, these two on their own aren't going to fetch you much. Yeah. All right. Let's see. Shits and giggles, future first. Let's see if pairing them with the first accomplishes anything. If not, you might have to take on some 40s. You could get back the big Wang after all this time. The big Wang. Tyronn Lue, Brisbilla. Yeah, get Fred Jones as a backup shooting guard. You got to give up a fucking lot to get him, but Davian George at forward. Brian Cook at power forward. Kenny Thomas at power forward. He's a 76. Nobody else too crazy I have an overall. From the looks of it, your best bet is to trade these low overall dudes individually for draft picks. And then use those draft picks to try and find the upgrades. Right? Because, like, the trade offers for Diawara were better. You know? Like, it just, you know, sure, you have to take on a 40 overall. You're going to have to do that anyway to fill out the roster, right? Pretty much no reason to not just be like, all right, fuck it, take that Philadelphia first, you know? Am I wrong? Mason and a pick for a couple guys. I don't know if you're allowed to flip Mason. You are not. Desmond Mason's here. You are not allowed to flip him. Any disagreement about trading this guy for a random first? Any disagreement? Trade him for a first, then use the first to try to get somebody better and accomplish your goal. Any disagreement? Going once on pulling the trigger. Going twice. That's a done deal. That's a smart deal. Unlike hoping on first will crash. I mean, the value is about gone is the problem. You know? Like, I already looked, you know, combining the two shooting guards wasn't getting you much. But literally, by definition, the first round picks have more value than the guys that you're giving up. Right? So it's the same thing. Is, you know, flip the first, hope for the best. Especially because it's easier to pair first together. Right? So, like, take the Sonics pick. Like, whatever. Right? Buckner, you won't be able to flip. The game isn't based on theory. That's very true. But, like, if you use, like, Beasley, you can't trade Theo Hansen. He's stuck here. So Beasley's the last guy to trade. Just to see, okay, you could get a first for him, but now is obviously the time to say, okay, pair him up with a first round pick, maybe even two, and see what you can get for him, right? And that's clearly the play. First rounder, Diawara. Todd McCullough at center. Again, you were looking at shooting guards and power forwards. There's Cedric Simmons. I mean, it is an upgrade. Simmons is only 23. Fred Jones is a 77 overall shooting guard. Michael Bradley at power forward. Brian Cook at power forward. Kenny Thomas at power forward. Makes sense. I back down. Thank you, Crash. Crash, you and I together, our powers combined, I don't think we'd ever lose. I think we'd win titles every year. Our powers combined. Unless my fucking bad luck ruins it. So let's see. 2 firsts for this guy. I know, Crash. I know. You've been asking me for 2 years. I know. 1v1 me, streamer, right? Let's see. If you pair 2 firsts together, Bring back the Wang. Tyronn Lue, Brisbilla. I can get another first-round pick back. Fred Jones is definitely a possibility here. So Fred Jones and Kenny Thomas might be the best you can get as backups in those positions now. At least if you have Beasley as a part of the deal. If you take Beasley out and just say, like, hey, I'm giving up 3 first-round picks. What are people willing to offer me? We'll see if you guys can get anything better than Jones or Thomas. If not, those are clearly the guys. The market just might not be there. Well, let's see. 3 first-rounders. For example, what would it fetch you? Tyronn Lue, you're getting pretty similar options. Shout out to Dan Dickow. Keon Dooling. Armstrong, Davian George. A lot of similar names. There's Kenny Thomas again. Not that you'd want to give up 3, but you would get 1 back, and you'd get rid of a 40 overall. Lexi Pekaroff. Yeah, okay. It's pretty similar names at this point. It is pretty similar names. So, it becomes pretty obvious. Upgrade Mo. Who the hell do you think you're going to get that's an upgrade on Mo Williams at this point? The guy's an 86. Who the hell do you think you're going to get? I appreciate the optimism, but who the hell do you think you're going to get? I mean, maybe you'll get somebody, but holy hell, that's optimistic. So, Chad, is there any disagreement? Jerome Beasley and a first for Fred Jones in a second? I'll check the Mo Williams thing. But any disagreement about picking up Fred Jones to be the new backup shooting guard? Let me know. And then we'll look for the power forward that we've talked about. Shits and giggles. Mo Williams, I'm not saying you're pulling the trigger on this, but Mo Williams and at least 1 first. I don't think it let me add the second. Oh, you could get old Antoine Walker. Oh, that's because Beasley was still selected. Well, Mo Williams and 2 firsts. Jones deal is about to happen. Yeah. Ooh, you could get Deshaun Stevenson, Trevor Ariza. You could get Ricky Davis and then have Tyronn Lue as your backup point guard. Antoine Walker's old ass. You could get Chris Kaman, who you don't need at all. You could get a 3rd 85 overall forward and then have Jameer Nelson as your backup point guard. That trade wouldn't make sense at all. That trade wouldn't make sense at all. That trade wouldn't make sense at all. You could get Nene, another 84 plus overall center. You could get Al Harrington as a, in theory, Al Harrington as the backup power forward, Raymond Felton as the backup point guard. Technically not the worst idea in the world. You get a better backup power forward, but you take a hit in terms of starting point guard. So is that really worth it? You could get Richard Jefferson, who you don't need at all. You could get Andrew Bogut and Jose Calderon. Heinrichs 82. Or you could get Steven Jackson and Antonio McDyess. And I'm not giving you Lou Williams. I didn't completely hate the Nelson deal. Well, there's your example. So let me know. It's pretty much the last thing to figure out. Are you happy with Mo Williams being the starting point guard, or are you okay with, hey, Kirk Heinrich? Because you're not getting an upgrade on Mo. You're not. Like, he is the best point guard you can have on this team right now. All right. So, the deals were, I am not mistaken, gonna have to add a first round pick. So the deals were, T-Reds, I think people were just wanting to look. As previously discussed, Jerome Beasley in a first for Fred Jones in a second. to be the new backup shooting guard. And then the final deal, as chat called it, was going to be 2 first-round picks. It's going to take a minute to load to get that backup power forward. As you discussed, we have seen basically all the options that you have this year. Said power forward. Is he still available? Ooh, is he not available anymore? At least he wasn't for those. You're not allowed to trade that Sonics pick anymore. Well, you might have to throw a third one in there to get the offer that you want, but what do you care? 3 first-rounders. We have Okafor. Okafor's a center. I mean, yes, technically he would be like the backup power forward, but the gist is chat wants to be safe. Unfortunately, that team that was trading said power forward has kind of backed out of the bargaining. Interesting. Well, you might have to be a little bit more... I forget who the hell it was. I'd probably let you guys get that trade done the other way, just to be nice. Because that is kind of funky that a team's not interested in doing it anymore. It was a 77 overall power forward. Yeah, let me just see really quickly. Could be cap space, it could be. I'm intrigued. So it was towards the end of the team list. It wasn't Thomas. It was this Thomas. It was Kenny Thomas on the Pacers. It was not Franklin. It was Kenny Thomas who kept popping up. Do not even try that nonsense. It was Kenny Thomas, I promise you. Unfortunately, they now want to be difficult about getting Kenny Thomas. Gio, I put the second there for a reason, because the first wasn't working. I was trying to find the right combination for you guys. So yeah, they are now wanting to be a little bit difficult. Shits and giggles. If you put the 240s and a first overall, what happens? Does it get you a power forward? You don't have to check the VOD. I'm right. Have you not learned this? Have you not learned this? It was the player I said it was. My God, trust for once. Unfortunately, again, that offer's not available anymore. From the looks of it. I mean, Jerome Moiso isn't that much worse than who you were targeting in the first place. And you'd clear out the 240s. You also said it was a 77. The guy was a 76. He was a 76 -1, meaning he's a 77. Stop it. Crash, Crash, if you're going to fight this, if I'm right, I'm bopping you for the rest of the night. If you're that confident, oh, you don't need to confirm my rightness. I am correct. I will bop you for the rest of the night if you check the VOD to be like, oh, sorry, Toog, you were right. Bitch, I know I'm right. Don't push it. Don't push it. I'm ready to bop. I'm ready to throw. So, because of this game's weirdness, the best backup power forward you guys are going to get at this stage is Jerome Moiso, which isn't ideal. It does clear out a couple of the 40s, but I still think you'd end up having to sign some anyway. Let me actually count the amount of dudes you have on the team. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Technically, it would be 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, you'd still have to sign some 40s, so there's really no point in trying to trade the 40s. So just one more look. Because again, there's not much you can do in terms of the 2010 trades. That's the problem. Can't wait to lose 10 straight after this. Fucking probably. All right. Let's see. 3 first. Who's the best power forward you can get? And that will finalize chat's nuke. Just finding that extra power forward. You're going all in. That was the word. So let's see what happens here. Who's out there? Todd McCullough, Keon Dooling. Yeah, I mean, that guy is basically the best guy you can get. That guy is the best guy you can get. Maybe in the rando seconds might fetch you more just because they're 2009 picks. Just going to double check, try to find you guys the players that you want. And then again, this is probably the final season on this bad boy. Of course, they took away that damn power forward. Come on. Give Chad a power forward so I can stop this nonsense. A good power forward, that is. Well, that is just kind of silly nonsense, isn't it? Well, we'll do the best you can do then. We'll do it. We'll do it. And, like I said, we'll finalize your team here. The 40s for the 74 isn't bad. Yeah, it was not Franklin. It wasn't. Fucking stop. It's not even Crash this time. Jesus Christ, people. If it was Franklin, don't you think he would have been showing up more often still? Quit trying to cheat. You're going to win anyway. You don't need to fucking cheat about it. Honestly, how is that deal for the 40 overalls actually like fetching you the best player? They need to work on the trade logic just a little bit, don't you think? Let's get you that power forward then. Let's do it. Let's do it. It wasn't Juwan Howard. Wasn't Carl Landry. Maurice Taylor. I mean, he's at least something, right? That was Moiso. There you go. First, a second, and the 240s for Jerome Moiso to be the final piece to the puzzle. That is a done deal. And with that, let's get a look at chat's roster here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You are going to have to sign a scrub-a-dub-dub. To fill out the roster. There you go. So chat's roster now for their big championship push. Mo Williams, J.R. Smith, Danny Granger, Elton Brand, and Tyson Chandler, with Desmond Mason, Kirk Heinrich, Emeka Okafor, Fred Jones, Jerome Moiso, and then Theo Hansen. That is a hell of a team. Dude, Emeka Okafor is only getting 21 minutes. That is a team that is going all in. Fair enough. And again, on the other side, my Wizards, Chris Paul, Jamal Crawford, Andre Iguodala, Chris Bosh, Ben Wallace, with Tony Allen, Lou Williams, Greg Oden, Charlie Villanueva off the bench, and then a couple of others, to say the least. Might there be a showdown in the finals?